Hello, church. It's time for our weekly Bible study in the book of Proverbs, our Wow Time, Wisdom on Wednesday. I'm going to start off and I'm going to apologize for not getting this done last week. Had some things come up and just wasn't able to get it done at my regular time. I do apologize for that, but we're going to get back into it this week, and God willing, we will the week after this as well, and just kind of keep it going. I hope you're having a good week so far. I am recording this on Wednesday morning-ish. It's getting close to noon, but not there yet. The weather outside is cool, a little damp. Hope that you're enjoying it. If that's what you're experiencing where you are, it's kind of a nice change from the 100-degree weather we've experienced recently. I don't know if it makes me miss 70s and 80-degree weather quite yet, but it might be getting close to that. But have enjoyed this cooler weather for this past day or so, and I'm sure we will for the rest of this day as well. I invite you to open your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 9. That's where we ended 2 weeks ago. And we ended in verse 6. And chapter 9 is an interesting chapter. We have Lady Wisdom, if you will, and then the Woman of Folly as well. And we'll get to the Woman of Folly next week, God willing. But of course, Lady Wisdom gives her invitation for those that are simple to come to her feast and the delicious meal that she is to provide for those that come and accept the invitation to her meal. Where we're going to start today's in verse 7. We're only going to go through verse 12, and it's kind of an interesting little section. But before we dive into that, then towards the end of the chapter, the last 6 verses is going to be the invitation of the Woman of Folly and what she is advertising and what she is desiring of those who come to her. But we'll get to that next week. And so really where I want us to begin is in verse 7. And verses 7 through 12, it's an interesting little section here in chapter 9. I think it kind of, how should we put this? It shows us the two choices that every person has. And it really kind of discusses what invitation are you going to accept? Are you going to accept the invitation of Lady Wisdom, or are you going to accept the invitation of the Woman of Folly? And why would you accept whatever invitation that you're going to accept? Okay, let's dive in here. Verse 7 says, "Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury." Have you ever tried to give advice to somebody or wisdom to somebody and they absolutely don't want it? In fact, they might even be doing this when you start to talk. "Hey, let me give you some advice here." No, 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 no. And they do that. Maybe that would be more with a child. Hopefully that's more with a child than it would be with a grown adult. But have you ever seen that with grown adults as well? When someone is trying to give them good advice, they're just almost just like putting their hands over their ears, shaking their head, and saying things so they absolutely don't hear. Maybe they're even closing their eyes. No, 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 no. I don't want to hear it. Don't want any of that. Okay? That's almost what I picture here in verse 7. Okay? Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse. Now, it seems that maybe this would maybe be more of a verbal abuse, quite possibly. I don't know. And he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Okay? So basically, you're trying to give wisdom to somebody that absolutely doesn't want it. They're not going to listen to it. In fact, they're going to fight you over it. And probably they're going to call you every name in the book. And they're just going to let you know, I'm not taking your advice. I'm not listening to your advice. I absolutely want nothing to do with it. In verse 8, it says, "Do not reprove a scoffer, or he will hate you." Okay, so once again, you try to give wisdom to someone who doesn't want it, they're not going to accept it. Okay, they'd rather go the way of the wicked. They'd rather live in their sin, if you will, and they absolutely don't want anything to do with the wisdom of God. But notice the end of verse 8. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. So there's the contrast. Okay, a scoffer or evil person, you reprove them, what's going to happen? They're going to hate you for it. How dare you say that about me? How dare you try to act like you are better than me and try to tell me what I'm doing wrong or tell me that I need to improve in something. But notice the contrast there with a wise man. What happens with a wise man when you try to give him wisdom? He will love you. He will appreciate what you are doing. Notice verse 9. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Why will the wise man love you? Because he's considering what you are given to him is even more wisdom. Okay? Maybe I was wise before, but now, afterwards, I'm going to be even wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. Okay? What invitation do you accept? Do you accept the invitation of Lady Wisdom to come to the meal that she has provided, where you're going to gain wisdom, where you're going to gain insight, where you're going to gain understanding? Or would you prefer the meal of the woman of folly, where you're not going to gain any of that, and there's really no benefit to anything that she is providing? But notice verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. This really goes back to Proverbs chapter 1 that we have discussed. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. I think of it somewhat this way. I think when we have a proper fear of the Lord and we realize that is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. When we have a relationship with God, we know that that is where true wisdom comes from. I think when we gain the understanding and are okay with that He is God and we are not, then we gain wisdom there. There is benefit for us there. Okay, you might be saying, but preacher, I don't think I'm God. Okay, but do we sometimes live our life in such a way that we kind of act like, yeah, we are? I'm smart in my own ways. I know what I'm doing. I don't need help. Okay? Do we ever put ourselves, maybe in the role of God? But not a wise person. He readily accepts the invitation of Lady Wisdom. He wants that relationship with God and realizes, I'm not Him. And so if I want the benefit, I'm going to have that proper fear of the Lord, because that is where true wisdom comes from. And the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. So I want to work on knowing God more. Here in Panhandle, this last Sunday, I preached over Psalm 46. And 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. It's almost like God is saying to the universe, be still. I want you to realize who I am. I am the creator of all things. I am wisdom. And so the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And the knowledge of the Holy One, that is true insight. And so if we don't have that fear of the Lord, if we don't have knowledge of Him, we cannot have wisdom. We cannot have insight. We cannot have understanding. That is foolishness. And that would be staying in the way of the simple. Okay, notice verse 11 with me. For by me, I think this would be referring to wisdom. For by me your days will be multiplied, and your years will be added to your life. There is benefit to wisdom. It will help you. If you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you alone will bear it. Okay, so once again, the thought process here is, which invitation are you going to accept? Are you going to accept the invitation of Lady Wisdom or of the woman of folly? And next week, when we get into verse 13, we're going to see what that invitation of the woman of folly truly is. Okay, I want to read to you from the Message translation. It's an interesting translation of this part of Proverbs. Starting in verse 7, this is what it says. If you reason with an arrogant cynic, you'll get slapped in the face. Confront bad behavior and get a kick in the shins. So don't waste your time on a scoffer. All you'll get for your pains is abuse. But if you correct those who care about life, that's different. They'll love you for it. Save your breath for the wise. They'll be wiser for it. Tell good people what you know. They'll profit from it. Skilled living gets its start in the fear of God. Insight into life from knowing a holy God. It's through me, Lady Wisdom, that your life deepens and the years of your life ripen. Live wisely and wisdom will permeate your life. Mock life and life will mock you. I think for me, the section, what maybe I get out of it is choose wisely. Okay, choose wisely what invitation you're going to accept. And you have to ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to live the life that goes down the path of evil, that follows the path of Satan and the evil one? Or do I want to follow the path of God, which leads to wisdom, which leads to insight, which leads to understanding, and being able to be still and know that He is God? That is the life that we want. And it does have benefits for us. I hope you are blessed this week, and I hope the rest of this week goes well for you. Stay warm on these cool days, and as it warms up later this week, stay cool. Remember, I love you, and so does God, and live our lives for Him. May we have wisdom in our walk with Him the rest of this week. God bless. Have a great week. See you next time.